Well, you know what time it is. It is Friday at noon, so we got to give the people what they want. Hey, if you are following us right now, then you know that I am your special host, and our normal host is somewhere flying across the country and might join us at the end of the show. But this is exactly what I need you to do. I need you to tag him and share so he knows the show is still going on without him. Listen, it is a cold day here in Buffalo. So hello, Buffalo. Hello, Atlanta. And hello from wherever you are listening to. We have an action-packed show, and I have a special co-host, and I have a special guest. And if you are tuned into the show for the last few weeks, you know we have been dealing with a lot on the government, what's happening in our government and what happened in politics. And we are diving in because the two people are probably some of the greatest leaders in Western New York when it comes to this. But, before we get into it, because we talked about it last week, y'all Buffalo Bills. So the Bills decided to hire the offensive coordinator. They promoted him, Joe Brady. I talked in depth last week about the whole Sean McDermott firing, and I didn't think that was warranted if Brandon Beane was going to stay on. And the two people that are already in studio, so they can jump in whenever they want to. I said if you were going to get rid of McDermott, then Beane should have left. Because, again, I've never seen and I've never worked a job where I get a raise and a promotion and at the same time can say, I could have done better. But Joe Brady, I think this was good for Josh Allen. I think this was his preferred choice in the matter. As soon as it happened, I legit said that I believed it was between Joe Brady and Brian Daboll. I thought Daboll was going to be the leading candidate because he's a Western New York guy, graduate of St. Francis Red Raiders. So I figured that would have been a move. But, hey, Buffalo, let's see. Joe Brady is taking you into the new stadium. How do y'all feel about that?
Well, first, thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, I'm just saying. I'm going to introduce you formally, but just your thoughts on the Bills.
This isn't my usual line of expertise, but it's hard for me to believe what exactly happened to lose our coach.
Yes.
And bring in a new one. We've got to run with who we have, though. He's done a pretty good job as our offensive coordinator, and I think – is he the answer? I hope so. We got to do some good recruitment in the offseason here.
I agree with you. I hope he is the answer. I'm not happy about how we got to this point at all.
I need you to talk into that mic.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, kind
There
sir.
You go.
I'm not happy about how we got to this point at all, to be honest. I'm kind of annoyed that we're not going to the big show.
Well,
don't do it.
The NFL script writers, did what they wanted to do and handled it however they wanted to handle it. Like I said, I knew they wasn't going to let Josh Allen go out in Week 1 against Jacksonville.
Of course not.
Not with no Lamar in the playoffs, not with no Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, not with no Joe Burrow in the playoffs. So I knew they were going to have to carry this out. I actually, if what Vic Carucci reported is true, I firmly believe that Sean McDermott was right when he told the front office, we don't have a Super Bowl winning roster. And I think at some point you have to be willing to admit that to be in good leadership.
That is leadership. I couldn't agree with you more. I think you have to, regardless of sports is not my strong suit, as we both know. Did you say I know?
I know.
That's terrible. But I do know that, leadership has to acknowledge your strengths and your weaknesses, and somebody has to be able to tell the truth. And if you punish somebody for being honest with you prior to getting to the big game, I don't think they should be fired for that. I think there are more people that were at fault than just Sean.
But I do think something had to be shaken up.
Yes, I agree.
Something's not working. We keep getting to this point and we're hitting a wall. Whether that was McDermott or not, I don't know. We'll see.
We definitely will. Listen, so they've already talked, and so I'm going to introduce them because the next topic kind of will take us into our national fold. Our special co-host for today, the majority leader of the Buffalo Common Council, Majority Leader Leah Halton Pope. Say hello to the people in Buffalo, Atlanta, and all over.
Hello, Buffalo. Hello, Atlanta. Hello, all over.
All over, right? What is going on the just a quick snapshot, right? There's a lot of changes. The city has just saw some transition. How has that been? Because this is the end of the first month, right?
It is.
This is the end of the first month. So how is it going on the council? How's it dealing with the new transition in city government?
It's a lot of change right now in the city of Buffalo. We have a new administration, which means we have a lot of new commissioners and staff. We have a new leadership team for Buffalo Common Council as well. And so I think in these, what was this today, the 30th?
Yes, the 30th.
In 30 days, we've had snow every day. We haven't had a break yet.
Tell me
and
about
so
it.
I feel like we're getting battle tested on all sides. And so it's an opportunity, not an issue. I think an opportunity for great change. And change is always good. And a different way to lead in the city of Buffalo. This is the very first time the city of Buffalo Common Council has ever had 2 women of color in
that's
leadership ever. And so I'm grateful that I've retained my position, but I've been joined by my colleague, another new member. We started at the same time, Zanetta Everhart, who's joined the leadership team as well. And for the first time, somebody from the Delaware district is representing as council president.
Oh, you know what? I did not know that. This is the
Yeah.
first time Delaware district has had the council president.
Yeah. So
Oh,
there's
wow.
a lot of really, really amazing change that's happening right now. And, you know, we have a lot ahead of us, a lot to discuss. We had a very long civil service committee meeting.
Yeah.
We didn't even finish interviewing everybody that we need to. We've got 4 deputy mayors and 1,000 new people. So
And just so Atlanta knows, like, and I don't know, we probably have to do some research. You know, me and our host Darius Pridgen, we were on the council together, but I do believe this might be one of the most diverse councils in the city of Buffalo's history, and to have 2 African American women serving in leadership is a big deal in the city of Buffalo. So kudos to you, kudos to what is going on, and that those confirmation sessions in civil service can drag out because, and especially, and again, this is the first time the city has seen kind of a mass administration change.
Correct.
And
20 years.
20 years, but I don't know how much changed from Mayor Maciello to Mayor Brown. So
It was a little bit. I think the previous switch there was a little more lead time, a little more runway when they transferred power. But I believe Mayor Brown actually added. He's the first person to add 2 deputy mayors.
Right.
This one added 2 additional. Mayor Ryan added 2 additional. So we have 4 deputy mayors for the first time. Eliminated some positions, created some new ones, and this will be a fun time in the city of Buffalo. Hopefully, we're more efficient than we've been.
Amen. Amen. Now, our special guest is a good friend of the show. He's a good friend to the host. He's a good friend to me. He's our Erie County Democratic chairman. He just had to step down from being the Democratic Board of Commissioner. But again, great friend. He has served Western New York for a long time, and I am proud to have back on this show Jeremy Zellner. Jeremy, greet the people, of course, Western New York, and greet the people in Atlanta and all over.
Thank you, people all over, and Atlanta and Buffalo. Appreciate it. Let's call me the secondary person on this show because we had an extra special.
No,
co-host here.
No, I'm really not.
Majority leader.
So he's going to be on, and he's going to be on kind of in a lot of fashions because I think, you know, he is a candidate, so I want to throw that out there now. He is a candidate. We didn't call him. He asked, and as we do on any show, anybody running for office can appear on the show because of FCC regulations. Everyone will get their fair time. So we didn't go seeking. He asked to be on the show. But while he's on the show, we will be talking about, again, where we've been last few weeks about some of our national issues, the issues facing some of our the Democratic Party, and even as we read the survey from last week, where you have a lot of Democrats in this country that are losing hope in Democratic leadership. So this is perfect time for not only him to talk about his candidacy, but to hear a voice from someone that sits in some of these rooms. But before we do that, we have to talk about. This was hot off the presses. I woke up to this, and it's kind of crazy to believe. Don Lemon, the former journalist who everyone probably remembers him more from being on CNN late night. And matter of fact, after the Tops incidents here in Buffalo, our host was actually interviewed by Don Lemon, I think once or twice. And so, again, it was somebody in off the air. He was completely, if you don't know, well, you probably see more of Don Lemon's personality now that he's off CNN. But when we got off the air, that was when you really saw his personality. But Don Lemon was arrested this morning in Los Angeles while he was covering the Grammys, because, again, he's still a journalist. He has his own platform now. But Don Lemon was arrested in Los Angeles in connection with the protests at the church in Minneapolis earlier this month. Now, again, if you haven't been following this, the protests in Minneapolis, it was a part of all of the other protesting that's going on, righteous protesting that's been going on in Minneapolis with the ICE involvement. Now, what ended up happening that Sunday morning was they found out the pastor of that church was working. It was an employee of ICE, so they decided to take the protest to the church. Don Lemon was there covering as a journalist. He had a camera. He was asking people questions about how they felt. He was approached by federal employees, and he let them know, "Hey, I'm here as a journalist. I'm not a part of the protest." Well, the United States DOJ still pegged him as a person of interest in their case. And now Don Lemon is arrested and being detained. His lawyer has put out a statement, and right now they are saying this is a violation of the First Amendment. So early thoughts, again, this is less than 24 hours old, early thoughts, and this is kind of that anarchy that Darius was talking about last week. It's that we've never kind of been in a time where now you don't know what you can say, you don't know what you can do here locally, and I have to check to see if Mayor Dinkins in Atlanta has signed any executive orders to this effect. But here, Mayor Ryan has signed an executive order saying that we will not participate with ICE except for where you have a legit warrant in seeking something criminal. But we see that now we are probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks in to this chaos in Minneapolis, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. And now we're just here. Now we're just arresting U.S. citizens, and I think this is the danger.
We're not just arresting them; we're killing them. Let's be clear. This is not just about arrest. They're literally murdering U.S. citizens, and in plain sight, with what looks like, if it wasn't for today's society where we have cameras and media to be able to show what actually happens, then they're telling a narrative that is not accurate based on what we can see with our own eyes. And then our government is telling us, "Oh, don't believe what you see. Don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. None of that is accurate." That's crazy to me. And as it relates to the protest itself, yes, a protest like this is a protected thing, but you can't do it on private property. Everybody knows that. Right. But Don Lemon, as a journalist, is exercising his First Amendment rights. This is part of freedom of the press. And if you announce it, and this is what you are doing, then he has a right to be there as a journalist. And for him to be arrested, and I don't have all the details. I know as much as you do. This has been 24 hours. I believe the incident happened, January 18th?
Right, earlier this month, yep.
Yeah. People, you're supposed to be finding out why people are there. How do you feel about this? And if your pastor, for the record, is also allegedly a member of working for a federal agency that is literally destroying your community and or killing your community members, I think they have a right to be concerned. They should probably have protested across the street, but he has a right to ask questions of everybody.
And it's one outrage after another,
right?
And it's the killing of two people is just, was horrible. It's terrifying people across the country. I'm out on a campaign trail,
right?
But I'm talking to folks that are terrified, especially immigrants, new Americans. They're telling me they're carrying their passports with them everywhere they go because they're concerned. I talk to people on the phone. They say, I'm a little nervous to be talking on the phone.
Right.
Because you're asking them, hello, is this so-and-so? And they don't want to tell you.
Right.
That's not America. Locking up journalists. You see what's going on right with our friends in Georgia, with the Board of Elections in Georgia.
Yes.
The
Yes.
FBI's raiding a Board of Elections. There are already people ready to do investigations there. The good news here, a little bit of a glimmer of good news, is that we're seeing some people in that other party have a conscience.
I agree.
You see the sheriff in Niagara County who's Republican say, wait a minute, we're not going to be cooperating with ICE in our jails over here. You're seeing the candidate who's running for governor of Minnesota that's on the Republican line withdraw.
Yes.
Saying, I can't be part of this anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That is the courage we need right now.
And I would definitely agree. And at the end of last year, I kept using this line over and over on the show. Like, when the Republican Party is in trouble when Marjorie Taylor Greene sounds like the same one.
When she started to make sense, I was like, wait, we're in trouble. Something has happened, Molly.
But my reference goes back to, once John Boehner met the Pope, then he was like, you know what?
I'm out.
I've seen the light, and everything started to change.
That's true.
And
That's
I
true.
think, and to your point, Jeremy, I think it is true that we're at a point where you need the ones on the other side to start being just as outraged. And I think that's probably the good sign towards the midterms. And we're not doing this. They're not doing this because of the politicking towards the midterm. Like, I got to win my district. Let me appease some of the moderate voters in the middle.
Listen, we'll take what we can get when we can get it as quick as possible. But the numbers of the president are dropping like a rock.
Yes.
And, anyone would be smart to abandon his foolery here, his dangerous, deadly immigration policies.
And I agree, and I was kind of going to, and I'm glad you said it because I was going to kind of ask you that. And I remember talking to our Erie County county exec Mark Polenkars when he was running the last time, and I think our current president was in then the last time, and we had this conversation about even in local campaigning now. It's like you're campaigning now on national issues, and now we'll segue. Our chairman is on. He is running for New York State Senate District 61, but running for state senator and as a state senator, there's certain things like you don't have a say in besides a bully pulpit. But now on the campaign trail, you're forced to address federal issues. You're forced to address things that don't fall under your purview. Yeah. Kind of talk about that, and then we'll go into the district and everything else.
Well, and we're being forced to deal with the federal government because they're attacking blue states, including New York.
Yes.
They've literally cut billions of dollars of health care money from across the country. It's the largest cut in the history of our country to healthcare. That means we're closing clinics, we're closing hospitals, especially in rural areas where people rely on these things most. They're taking SNAP benefits away from kids and families who need those benefits the most. We have to push back, and the state has to provide that safety net. So this is a national problem that's being brought to our state level because we have to have somebody go and push back and make sure that that funding that we lost from the federal government comes somehow. And then on my other hat, we got to make sure we send Democrats to Congress this year and get that funding back and get some sanity back into our lives.
I completely agree. I'm just looking through some of the comments here. Dawn Trotter says, sadly, we are becoming like the other countries that are censored. And Dawn will come back to this because she wanted to talk about the town hall, the resident town hall. So we'll come back to that, Dawn. Okay. Make sure if we get towards the end of the show and we don't, well, I will give the majority leader a chance to talk about that. Dawn also said if Don Lemon was a Fox reporter, this would not have happened.
Of course.
So and I think and I'm sorry, I'm jumping over, please, but you brought up another point I wanted to mention because it happened in Fulton County. The FBI raids Fulton County for their 2024 ballot boxes. 700, I think, I forget, however many boxes carried out with a sealed warrant. but yet you have the Republicans in Georgia talking about, oh, it should be a fair and transparent process.
And Mark, the thing
crazy
is,
to me.
another person with a conscience.
Yes.
The director of the FBI in that area has resigned because
has
he
he?
knows they know that this is an unlawful search here. You're seeing prosecutors in Minnesota, career prosecutors resigning because they are not going to participate in this. We're losing career civil servants and people throughout the government.
Wow.
Who are trying to do their job, and it's a little glimmer of hope
Yes.
that people are standing up.
It's a glimmer of hope that they're standing up, and I'm grateful, that they are doing so. But for them to leave those positions means you leave an opening for people with like minds to now join this foolishness.
Yep.
I wish they would stay in place and stand up and be who you were. Like, we're public servants, right? You are here to serve the people, and so whether or not your party agrees with you, you have to do what's right. And I'm grateful that you are, but stay in your position. And stand 10 toes down
How many
for the law.
How many cowards in the Senate and Congress, lifelong Republicans, have just left instead of fighting?
I think
the
they're
fight?
cowards.
That's the
Stand up
problem.
and be who you're supposed to be. If you feel like you are called to be an elected official, then be an elected official and serve the public. But if you're here to make a name for yourself or to make things easier for you, then you're in it for the wrong reasons, and you probably shouldn't have run in the first place.
And I think there's a balance in the middle, right? Because some are like, I didn't sign up for this.
And I appreciate that.
I didn't sign up. I signed up because I took a test, and I took a civil service test. And
passed, and
I took a
that's
civil
why.
service test, and now I'm in the middle of bullets on both sides.
I get it.
Or it's like, I'm in an appointed position, and now I'm only still in my appointed position because of institutional knowledge. Like, I was appointed 20 years ago, and everyone's like, oh, well, they're the only ones that know the job. Let me keep them there. And then now when things come down from above, it's like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. So I think there's a balance of the middle. And so, and then there's probably some that's like, before you can throw me out, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean my
get
office and walk out.
I respect that. I really do. But I think at some point you have to say, if I perish, let me perish. This is why I'm here. And if I've been here for 20, 30 years, I hope I've saved up enough resources to be able to survive the storm financially after it's done. But I'm here because I believe in what I do. And it's not just an appointment. Again, government is about serving people and public service. And just, you don't have to be elected to actually serve people. If you're not putting people first, then that's a different kind of a conversation. You probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. But I would prefer it if people would stay in that position and be that dam to block the water, or at least putting their finger in the dam for a little while to keep from flooding communities and neighborhoods.
And like I said, I think we're agreeing. We're in the middle. Hey, we're going to pay our first bill. We'll be right back.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
And we are back. Thank you to Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. While I'm talking about Hobson's, let me just throw it out there now. On Monday at 11 a.m., Lord willing, and the snow doesn't keep falling and rising, we are unveiling the trailblazing signs for Dr. Walter C. Hobson right outside the cleaner. So make sure if you are in Buffalo, you are there and support Mrs. Hobson's, who she called me personally and was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to do this in honor of him. And I said, we'll make it happen. I put Overseer James Lewis on the task to get the word out. So listen, make sure you are there. I believe, yes, because I think it is Monday at 11, because that was a day that Mayor Brown designated as Walter C. Hobson Day. So we wanted to make sure it stays the same. So I wanted to shout that out. Now let's get to why our special guest, Jeremy Zellner, is here. He is currently a candidate for the 61st New York Senate District, and I wanted him to explain this Senate District because a lot of people may be living in it and don't realize it. And I think it's probably a bigger national issue too. A lot of us, especially after reapportionment, you have no idea what district you're in anymore. So Jeremy, explain to the people now where you're running, what the district is. Explain the special election and that there's going to be another primary. Explain the whole process to them and why there's going to be so many cycles in this race for you.
Right. Well, it's important to know that the district and where the district is in, I think, is maybe even more important.
That's probably easier.
The district is the whole town of Amherst, the whole town, all of the town of Tonawanda and the city of Tonawanda, all of Grand Island, and North Buffalo up the west side, and it just basically touches like two districts in the Maston district. And folks can go to our Board of Elections website, elections.erie.gov, and see if you are a registered voter in there, because it gets a little dicey in the city. It cuts up, it goes up to West Ferry, then cuts over. But you can go to that website to check it out. But it's basically 80% of the district is in the suburbs.
Got you.
But we've got a strong, robust campaign going on right now. If you've gotten 7 of my mailings, then you can vote, and hopefully you at least looked at least one.
If you got 7 mailers, you're in the district. Trust me. If no one else knows how to run a campaign, it's this guy.
So if you've seen this mug 7 times, please get out there. But that's the lay of the land of the district. Right. Early voting is going through Sunday. It's noon to 9 today, and then the weekend hours are 9 to 5.
Okay.
We've got the polls open at all of our sites in the city, and also in Amherst and Tonawandas and Grand Island. They can vote at any one of those places.
For early voting, they can vote at anyone.
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
And then Tuesday, return to your regular polling place. If you have an absentee ballot and you don't know why you got it, it's because you can vote in this election. And please return it. You've got to get it postmarked. And now that our post office has changed things, you got to go into the post office to get it postmarked and put in the mail by Tuesday. So make sure you make your voice heard. As we talked earlier, we're at a time where you need to push back at every level.
Absolutely. And we talk about and I'm in a public policy class, and everything I'm learning is we have to be an informed citizenry. If we're not informed, and that's what we try to do on this show week after week, informing our listeners about policy, informing our listeners about procedures. Know what your local council does, know what your county representatives do, know what your state representatives do, know what your federal representatives do, because if you're calling one, all they're going to do is then pass you off, and now you're in the middle of 3 middlemen. So again, know what is going on, as our host always says, even our school board, and he thinks that's the most important job because that is handling our children and our future. But so be involved, stay involved. 61st Senate District. Jeremy, tell the people what you're running on, what your beliefs are, and just, like I said, inform the people.
And just to go back, so Mayor Ryan was elected, his seat became vacant, and then the governor had to call a special election upon the vacancy within 40 to 50 days.
Yes.
This was the policy that was put in place, okay? It didn't used to be that way. Some people changed that law and are now forcing the governor to call a special in the year that legislators are up if there's a vacancy. It used to be that they could call the special. Now it was changed that they must call the special.
I love it.
That difference between could, shall, and should.
Shall and may.
There was this governor that was
now
around.
It's shall, no longer may.
And he wasn't he was leaving all these seats vacant. So I think that kind of ticked off some of the legislators who said, now we're going to make you call
Yeah,
this special.
yeah.
So now she had to call that special.
Right.
We've had to put together a campaign, a full-scale campaign. It's going to be, I think, 31 days
Wow.
from the time she calls it until the election day. So
That's
we've
crazy.
done everything we can. I am really excited to continue hitting on the affordability. People are getting crushed with their utility bills. They're getting crushed with their groceries. They're getting crushed with healthcare costs and their insurance costs. We have to do something about it. I think the governor has put out a really strong budget and has a really good vision for things like childcare, which we have not really talked about bringing to upstate New York City. Is right now doing the pre-K 3 and 4 for kids. But if that was something that was in place when my wife and I had our kids, we were paying half of our paycheck to send our kids to daycare all day, all week. And that's going to be a game changer for families. The no tax on tips is going to help people who rely on tips. I was a pizza delivery guy for almost 10 years at 3 different places.
Wow.
Had to pay taxes on those tips. But it would have been great if we could get a few bucks in some people's pockets who rely on that.
And I think that's a big deal. And again, as we talk about knowing who does what, these are things your state government can control. And sending people to Albany that represent your belief again is what we need to do, because you're not going to get everything right. You know, there's going to be the way this great democratic experiment it was set up in this country is for us to be able to have a representative government, and we send the representatives that aligns closest to the majority's belief.
I think it's really important that you want to vote your interests. You want to vote for people who understand government, who have relationships. This is why we say relationships actually matter. You want people who can make a call to the governor and can get something done, who have relationships in the other house, the other chamber, with the assembly, and understand issues in a very good way. And I think that's critically important. I do want to push back a little bit because, Ellicott is part of your district. And so I don't want to leave us out. So if you live in that Oxford, Linwood, that portion of the city, make sure you probably have received 7 mailers as well. But you want to vote people who make sense. And so we talk about it all the time. Relationships matter. Experience matters. Somebody who gets the issues, somebody who aligns with your beliefs, and is accessible. You need to be able to talk to the person that is representing you. Hey, can I talk to you? What's going on? How does this work? And state government, there's a lot we can do on the city level, but I would rely heavily as a city elected official on the state, on the county, on the federal government to move things on behalf of the city. And so I want y'all to be really intentional, ask the hard questions, but it's important that we have good people.
And I was going to say, because if you think the taxes that we pay in the city of Buffalo is covering our budget, we need our friends in Albany.
We do.
Help.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm putting my ask out here right now. We only get $161 million from the state of New York, right?
Only.
And we've been consistently getting that. Yeah, only. And I'm not gonna change that. We've been getting that consistently. This will be our last time getting the additional $5 million that we were able to get when I first came in. And I think that was the first time the council had worked with the administration to request additional funding from the state. And so we need to change that formula. This is the second largest city in the state of New York.
And as the majority leader
Run us
knows,
some money.
we are in the Democrats have the majority in the Senate, and every dime that comes from the state in our region comes through that majority. It is a critical seat for us to retain.
Yes.
And we don't want to have any snafus on Tuesday with the special election. We've got to get our voices out and get and vote. But as the leader mentioned, as I said, I don't want to say that Buffalo is only 20% of this district.
Right.
Buffalo is the crown jewel of our region.
Right.
Buffalo must succeed. We need to do everything we can to work with the council and the mayor's office, Mayor Ryan's office, to deliver what we can for the city, because it's, as she said, it has been neglected. We need somebody that cares as much about folks on Oxford Street as they do as folks that live in the town of Amherst
Absolutely.
or Tonawanda.
On Sunrise.
And
that street.
I think it's really, really important that people people have their eyes wide open on this one.
Yes.
I am really excited to make this run. I've been involved in one way or another for a little more than 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to bring people together for the whole time that I've been the chair now for 14. I'm excited about where our party is. We're united. We're working together. We're talking to one another. All the nastiness is, a little bit still there once in a while. But for the most part, we are living in a different world with our party here.
I think people seem to forget, like, elections are elections, and then when they're done, then it's about working together and serving. So no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. And for me, the only interests that should matter are the people. So I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So why should we vote for you?
Well, I think I've made the case. First of all, we don't want to lose someone that's going to be in the Democratic majority to bring the funding we need. The budget is, as you know, happening immediately. I know that you're really excited to not be knee-deep into it in Albany right now.
I'm very excited. I get to go to sleep nowadays.
But this district needs someone to hit the ground that's going to be in the majority on day one. Also, my opponent is an avowed MAGA guy. And there's no way we can let somebody like that in office here in Western New York, especially in a Democratic district.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important for us to be pushing back at all levels, at all times, as much as we can right now. And, I've really worked hard to build coalitions. We just had probably the most successful off-season election that ECDC's ever had last year. We elected new people. We made history in the town of Amherst, the first African-American ever elected.
His father and my father grew up together in Ohio.
John Davis, Councilmember Davis, just saw him this morning. And so there's a lot of new folks.
Well, you also made history in Cheektowaga, too.
Yeah,
we
you
did.
did.
Not in the 61st, but we made some serious history there with Councilmember Lewis. But we have new leaders in place in this district that I think are hungry to get to work. We've got a new supervisor in the town of Amherst, Sean Lavin. And I think I have those relationships where we can find what those challenges that they're facing immediately and get some answers from us. I want to be an elected official who is I'm an old school person. I'm not a TikTok person and trying to get credit and standing on an issue. I want to respond to those business owners, to those community people, to the block club leaders, to the people who need help from state government and need responsive leadership from state government, and that's what I want to do. I want to build a strong staff and a team that's going to be responsive to the team.
How diverse will your team be? Because I think that's important, given all of the areas that you're going to be representing, both Buffalo, Amherst, Tonawanda.
I'd love to have only folks from the district. I don't want to put the cart before the horse before Tuesday. We feel really good, but we're just starting to assemble some leadership there and some communications help there. But I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to serve and come on board.
Excellent. So why, I think some people have asked, and I think it's fair to ask, to at least communicate to the public, as the party chair, now you're going to be a senator. Do you think that's a good fit? Do you think that's a good thing? And that's, I know it's a hard question, but people are asking, so you need to be able to answer it.
And it's not hard. I've wanted to be an elected official since I was a little kid, and I saw John LaFalce's calendar of Washington, D.C. monuments. I wanted to be the president of the United States when I saw that. I've wanted to serve. 5 years ago, Robin Schimminger, who was a 46-year member of the State Assembly, retired. That was what I always wanted to do. But my kids were younger. It wasn't the right time. I had just started at the Board of Elections. I'm glad I didn't. It just wasn't the right time. But this opportunity has come about to serve, and it was a tough decision. I left the Board of Elections where I had a 3-year term, taking a hefty pay cut if I'm successful on Tuesday to take this job. But my family was very supportive. They knew that I wanted to do this and that I want to serve. I had a lot of encouragement from across the district. We just released the elected officials, which virtually every single one of them in the district, save for maybe one or two, are supporting me and encouraging me to run. I believe in public service. I think being the leader of this party will only help the Senate constituents in the Senate district. Having the leader of this party that knows all of those Democratic elected officials in the district is only going to help. There's a number of elected officials across the state on both sides of the aisle who are elected officials
and party
leaders.
Are they also lead parties?
Right.
Across
You have
the
the senator in the Bronx. Jamal Bailey is the chair of the Bronx Democrats. You have Congress members who are also chairs. I don't need or want to be the chair for the rest of my life, by the way. I'm up for re-election this year as chair. I've had a lot of encouragement to stay from the governor on down. I don't think this is a time to walk away from the job and leave that when we've got the governor on the ballot this year and we've got a county executive race coming up.
Yes.
And all of our legislators are on the ballot this year. So I don't think it's time to change horses now in midstream, as they say. But I'm incredibly proud of the work that I've done. Building relationships with people who have not always, been with me. The minute I won this race, I went as chair. I went back to the folks and said, "Let's pull this thing together. We have to do that." Especially now, we are not in a time where Democrats should be fighting other Democrats. Right. We just aren't. If there's real reasons to do that, then that's okay. But if there isn't, then we need to be focused on pushing back at all levels.
And I just want to jump in because, again, appealing to the national audience, Chairman, and it's a follow-up to the question, because you will get ridiculed, you will get accused of rigging the system. You will get accused of, well, he's already the party chair. He loaded the box, and this wasn't a fair process. But again, as you just stated, you're not the only party chairman that's also an elected official, not just in New York, but nationally.
Well, let's take this back a year, right?
Yes.
When we had 3 citywide conventions, we had 9 people come to our mayoral conventions twice. We had 3 of them. We had straw polls. We had multiple executive committee meetings. I had people saying, you were always going to go with Sean Ryan. I had folks say, you were going to go with Chris Scanlon. That was a tough decision, but we made it as a group of 100 executive committee members. Right. Actually, I think 80, because that was the city committee. So we make decisions with our elected leadership group, okay? The Republicans, they had a press conference and said, this is our guy, and they had 4 people in a room signing paperwork, but that process was fine. Right. We had 100 people do interviews that we set up for the Senate seat, and people had a question about it. So I think it's important to understand what you're talking about. I've really, really tried to have a strong, open party because that's how I got here. Right. I was never involved in this stuff. My uncle wasn't a council member. My dad wasn't a council member. Right. I was a guy who, never got a job at a park for the summer. I had to work at pizzerias and stuff when I was a kid. But there was an open door policy when Len Lenahan was the chair, and I got involved. I started volunteering, worked my way up to be the office manager, executive director. Then I ran for chair. We need folks that want to be involved to get involved, but you got to know what this is, right? Right.
I do think it's interesting because the people who make those arguments, oh, you were always going to be for this person or that person. One of my colleagues actually, who was a candidate for mayor and did not get the party endorsement, actually endorsed you, correct?
Yeah, Chris Scanlon endorsed me. He's supportive of me. I'm not going to speak for him, but I think.
Well, I don't think you need to, but I do think it's telling that people who didn't agree with the party's decision at the time are still endorsing you. So there's some level of confidence in some way that you're the right person for the position. I would not put my name somewhere if I didn't think that it was the right way to go. And most of my colleagues actually endorsed you on the city level, and I think that that's important, and that's a national thing too. You vote where you feel like, if I'm going to endorse somebody, I want to endorse somebody, one, that I feel like is going to be the right person at the right time for that position. I don't have to agree with everything you're saying. Yeah. We don't always have to agree on every issue, but I do think we can work together. We can figure out what the middle ground is, and that's what's really important.
But again, like I said, it's not uncommon.
No, not at all.
We see a one-off and locally, and we think it's a big deal. Now,
downstate, they have tons of people who outside of the city of Buffalo who are both the party chair and elected to state office or congressional office, as the chairman said, and I think there's some value in that.
And the thing is, get involved, run for committee. Right. Yes, I work with the committee members who are seated committee members. We support them, we help get them elected. If you want to challenge them, go challenge them. If you don't want to challenge them and you want to just get involved, call us.
Yeah.
We have slotted so many people. I've worked with people who have been vehemently against me.
Yep.
But we've put, Brian Nowak he defeated me
Yeah.
as a delegate I was
true.
a Hillary Clinton delegate.
I
and
remember.
He kicked my butt with Bernie Sanders. He's now the supervisor in the town of Cheektowaga. We
Right.
helped and supported him for council. We helped and supported him for supervisor in Cheektowaga.
Yeah.
But a lot of folks get involved in this and they come in the room and they're like, whoa,
Yeah, there's
this
a lot.
isn't as sexy as I thought it was.
No.
I'm out of here. I'm not sitting here talking about zoning laws in the town of Amherst for the next hour and a half.
This
and arguing
is what
about
I'm
it.
excited about, because you for years have been helping to get people elected. How does it feel to be on the other side, having people ask you all these questions?
I think she's excited because
I'm
she
so
sees me being
excited.
tortured and out there doing what I've been yelling at her to do all these years.
Yeah.
I think you were at our meeting. It was very bizarre for me to be on the other side of the table talking to the committee as a candidate. It's been strange saying your name to
Yes.
people, saying, I'm Jeremy Zellner, I'm running for state senate. I'd like to have your support. It's really, really difficult when you're asking for yourself, when you're talking to the voters directly, when you're sitting on your couch and watching TV in the morning in your pajamas and drinking coffee and you see yourself on the TV.
Yeah, no,
my
that's gotta
neighbors
be
coming
weird.
up to me saying, hey, we're really excited for
When
you,
do
but
they start following you around a grocery store?
you're going to move to Albany? That's terrible. The family's going to leave. And I said, well, geez, we're not moving to Albany. I might be there for a little while, but, it is very bizarre. But I'm starting to be really inspired by the people who are supporting me and also the things that I can do to make a difference. I haven't been able to do that directly in government, and I can already see where there's some things that I can help people with it that are not heavy lifts that I've talked with groups for, and that really makes me feel a certain way that I haven't been able to.
It's
So-
humbling and it's fulfilling at the same time, I would say. So
I was
go ahead, Mark.
before on that though. So now that you see the other side,
Yes.
will it change the way you chair the party?
After folks on the executive committee said, are you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah.
I think it's making me a better chair. I might not push so hard on some
I don't
folks to do
believe it.
things. I mean, they should.
Do
It's
not
their
believe
elections.
it.
But
Don't
it
believe
is.
From any party chair that you've ever talked to. I don't care if they run for anything. Don't believe any of that. That's not true.
But I think it's making me a stronger chair because I'm literally out doing these things. I can see what's working and what doesn't. I did
true.
run for office 14 years ago. But it's been a long time.
Right.
Everything changes, as you both know.
Yeah.
The technology changes for campaigns. The
Yes.
elections change every year. The things we do, the targeting, all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
changes. And but yes, I think it's gonna make me a stronger chair, a better chair, more empathetic, maybe.
I think you'll be a little bit more empathetic. I'm not putting a whole lot there, y'all. I'm not gonna lie to the people across the country, because I think you still want the best out of each candidate. I think it changes how you approach the idea of running and how people think through how they should run. I want to ask you, have you been dealing with, how do you deal with the negative? Because when you're on the other side and helping people get elected, and I've done that for years, we can advise people. But when it's you and their comments, do you read the comments?
No. Well, first, I'd like to get back to the board that we've got a new commissioner at some point.
Okay.
Oh,
He's-
yeah. I'm really
He's
excited
doing a
about
great job. He was thrown into the fire to
Yeah.
run an election in 30 days of becoming the commissioner, and they're doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
But, you can't dwell on that. I tend to doom scroll once in a while.
Don't
but,
do it.
But, the most important thing is that your family is prepared for it. It might be a shock to some people that not everybody loves me. So I have seen once in a while I've
God,
seen some
I never knew
negativity
that.
over the years. But anytime you're in a leadership role, I've had to say no to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've had to say, when 5 people ask you for something, I think it was Mayor Masiello who said once that this is an impossible job. 10 people ask you for something, you can only pick one. That person thinks that they got there on their own, never needed you in the first place, and the other 9 are angry at you. So it's natural to pick that up, but your family has to be ready for this.
I think that's the hardest part.
I had to prepare them for what is to come. what potentially is to come. And we see my opponent literally, taking a throwback and calling me Boss Hog right
Those
now.
are the best
So,
images. If y'all haven't seen it, it's pure comedy, to be honest.
It really is.
He's dressed like they put him in the white hat and everything.
And I
Wow.
thought the guys in the white were the good guys in the white hats.
Not
but,
not in the Dukes of Hazzard, which, by the way, let's talk about how a MAGA person has got you dressed up in Confederate.
And I would like to see the demographics of the district. Do most of the district even know who Dukes of Hazzard are? But that's another story.
Did I just age myself, Mark?
I don't know if you did, but I mean,
I find that very disrespectful.
I don't know. Before we get back to the board, so you can highlight our new Democratic board commissioner, the question I want to have, and again, because we don't shy away from things, one of the other biggest knocks on the Democratic Party right now locally is the assumption that Buffalo doesn't have its own committee, and we don't choose our own endorsements. We have to go to the county party for endorsement. Will you speak to that?
Sure.
Clear it up.
Why don't we have a Buffalo Democratic Committee?
Yeah, why is
Well,
it not a Buffalo Democratic
I
Committee?
guess
Like
what
Amherst
first of
Democratic
all,
Committee, Cheektowaga.
in this day and age, anyone can say anything at all times that they want. There's no fact checking anywhere.
Right.
Anyone can saw that with our bishop. Anyone
Right.
can say whatever the hell
Whatever
they want
want.
anytime,
Yep.
right? The facts are this. I never want to see this county committee split.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we do have a city committee, and the city has 27 committees. We have 27 zones in the city of Buffalo who each have their own zone leader that is elected by the committee members. Okay,
Right.
They sit on our executive committee. They make county-wide endorsements. They make citywide endorsements. Then the chair appoints 27 at-large appointments.
Okay.
And then the officers get to vote. Okay. So the officers, the at-large, and the city zone leaders are the folks that comprise the city committee.
So I want to slow it down because I think this is important, especially here in Western New York and in Erie County, and especially in Buffalo. When we hear certain things, you understand. So the city of Buffalo is broken into 27 zones with a certain number of weighted votes on each committeeman.
Yes.
Going back to the committeeman and why it's important to get involved as a committeeman. So your seat as a committeeman has a certain weighted vote that goes into this zone. Then the zone chair gets appointed, and out of the 27 zone chairs, they then have a seat in the executive committee to where in some of the towns it's just the one zone chair. Right.
And they don't get appointed; they get elected by their committee members, right? And so there were folks that were not City of Buffalo residents that voted for the city endorsements. They do. That's the way our party rules are. However, when we did the mayoral endorsement, I went to the zone chairs and said, "This is your call. This is what we're going to do is follow your lead." No one that's an at-large or city person or an officer is somebody that is going to make this decision. You guys come together and tell these folks this is what we strongly want to do. And they strongly wanted change, and they strongly wanted Sean Ryan.
So is the recommendation then, and I don't know, does Fulton County have the same process that we do with committee seats, et cetera?
I don't know. I really don't know. That would be, we say every week we got to figure out. All I know is Mayor Dinkins won 82% of the vote.
So
They must have
she
precinct
says.
committee members.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
They're all over the country, one way or another.
So I guess the response then is to get involved. And I think running for office, whether it is dog catcher or school board, which
highway superintendent,
highway
whatever.
superintendent, but also committee seats are critically important.
And
that's how you make sure that you have a voice. This is who helps determine who those zone chairs are. So when the committee is voting and choosing who their endorsed individuals are, this is how it's
and know
selected.
what you're getting involved in, right?
Yeah.
Understand that being a committee member means you're elected. You have to go out and petition.
Yep.
You should be attending meetings. Some of our zone leaders are not very active. Some
Right.
of them are, okay? It is not sexy work to be in this business. Some folks think it is. They get involved. They go out and battle, and then they're like, wow, this is not that great, but I'm glad I did it,
Right.
it's important to get involved. We're running for committee this year. All committee seats are up in Erie County,
right.
1,400 seats.
Yeah, I think I'm still a committee man.
I'm a committee person.
Yeah, am I an Delegate 25 still?
I think you might be. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Look at that.
Yeah, so again, be involved, get involved, find out if you, and again, wherever you're listening,
They do have it in Fulton County.
okay, when I met Leah, I would always use this line. I wanted to get involved, but I never knew how. And then she was just like, make a phone call, walk in the door. And sometimes it literally is just that easy. Like you said, the open door policy. If you are in Erie County and you want to get involved, will you just tell them where the ECDC is and how they could get involved?
ECDC is at 671 Seneca Street in Buffalo, right off the first floor, right off the sidewalk. Our website is ecdems.com. You can sign up to be a committee member there. You can sign up to be involved and get in a campaign. Now, we have a lot of incumbent committee members
Yes.
who want to seek election, but we also have a lot of vacancies across the county that folks can run, and they may not be able to run in their own district, or they can.
Or they can.
But,
Democratic process.
there's a lot of vacancies. There's places we can appoint folks, but everybody is welcome to challenge anybody.
Absolutely. We got 4 minutes left.
Wow.
We're at the end. 30-second stump speech for the voters of the 61st Senate District.
It's critical to make your voice heard. We have early voting through Sunday, 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday until 9 tonight. And we can't take anything for granted anymore, any elections for granted. We've got to push back at every opportunity. I'd be honored to have your support. Please get out and make your voice heard.
Absolutely. Leah, I have to come back to you because we promised Dawn we were going to talk about the housing. So real briefly, give me a 1 minute synopsis of the housing hearing.
Really quickly, my colleague Joe Golombek brought an item to the council last month talking about LaSalle Court and some of the housing issues, and we heard from constituents then. Then on December 16th, I and my colleague Zenette Everhart both wrote letters to BMHA, to Belmont. I also wrote letters to Corvus and Cornerstone as their property managers for some of the low-income housing in the city of Buffalo, and questioned them vehemently. If you really want to hear about those questions, I would suggest watching December 16th hearing. I, at that time, also put in a resolution asking for a public hearing to allow constituents more than just that hour amount of time to speak to BMHA, Belmont, and those managing partners. BMHA specifically manages 27 places in the city of Buffalo right now, 5,000 units, but 27 of them they manage themselves. They have 125 employees.
Wow.
And of those 125, this is their words, watch December 16th community development meeting. 63 of them are supposed to be maintenance workers.
Wow.
So why people don't have heat, why they have holes and water running through their homes, while there's mold issues, why there's issues with trash, I cannot understand that. And so it's our job to hold people accountable. And last Wednesday, we had a hearing where we heard from several members throughout the city of Buffalo. One of the most heartbreaking stories, an older gentleman, said that he didn't have heat for almost 3 years.
Wow.
And I don't know how that's even possible. And then yesterday, we were told a space in my district, which I didn't know, the news brought it to me. There was an issue with heating. They said it was restored. While the news came there, one of the tenants showed a hole that's as the size of one of these squares almost, with water dripping down. Where do you think mold is going to come from?
Wow.
And so holding them accountable, I am not one who says that we cannot do anything. I think that's why we're in government. And so we're fighting for you in the council level.
And I would just say, again, when you're informed and you're involved, the two biggest things, informed and involved, these things matter. And when your elected officials go to fight for you, they want those voices behind them, because no elected official wants to go fight an issue by themselves.
At all.
They want to carry the burden of the people they represent to handle and fight for you. We're throwing it off. We'll see you next week. And until then, power to the people.